Like to call to order the March 2nd, 2023 committee meeting of the Harris County Board of Education. At this time, we'll move to item B, that the Harris County Board of Education review and approve the March 2nd, 2023 monthly committee meeting agenda as presented. Mr. Goodnow, second. Mr. Proctor, any discussion? All in favor? So moved. That will take us to item C, that the Harris County Board of Education review the attached meeting minutes from the board meetings held in February 2023. I trust everyone will review those. If you have any amendments or find any errors, please report those to Ms. Ashley so she can get those corrected, and we will vote on those next week. That will take us to item D, the public participation portion of our meeting. Mr. Couch, did we have anyone from the public signed up to meet?
No, not at this time.
Okay. All right. So that will take us to our discussion agenda and item 1, that the Harris County Board of Education listen to a curriculum department update from Dr. Denny and Dr. Patterson.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening. First up on the agenda is the adoption of the 2 calendars, one for the 23-24 school year and one for the 24-25 school year. The first page I put just
Denny,
a
is that microphone on?
It is. Is it not loud enough? Or,
There you go. You might need to
All
get
right.
closer.
sorry. On the first page, I put the criteria again that we use for creating the calendar. Again, starting the teacher and service days on the second working day of August, 180 student days, 10 professional learning days, spring break aligned with Muskogee County, student days divided as evenly as possible by 9 weeks in semester, observation of federal holidays, and then community, parent, and teacher input. If you flip to the next page, you will see at the top of the page the results of the survey. 128 people voted for calendar A and 509 for calendar B, for a total of 637 comments, or should say votes. And within that, we had 27 comments. And then if you take a look at the 24-25.
Sorry, Doctor, a quick question on the comments.
Yes.
And they're not listed, that's fine, but just in general, any theme in the comments, or were they sort of real personalized, or just in general?
There was, I wouldn't say there's any generalized in the 27. There was start later, start earlier. You know, why do we not start sooner so we can have either a fall break? One of the comment that I did see 3 times is we'd rather not come back on a Friday after Christmas break and then come back on a Monday. So that would be your only generalization. There were some, why do we not have a fall break? But other than that, there was no consistent pattern in that feedback.
Thank you, sir.
And then on 24-25, a little bit closer, 266 for calendar A, 366 for calendar B, for a total of 632. And for that survey, we only had 13 comments. And again, no consistency. One said both options are acceptable. One said, why not leave a little bit earlier for Christmas rather than the 22nd, because they felt that was too late. But other than that, there's no pattern in the comments.
Mr. Proctor.
Just because the federal holiday, I'm assuming you're talking either Memorial Day, 4th of July, or Juneteenth. Yes, yes.
Mr. Lip.
Thank you. And to speak to that as well, Mr. Parker, you know, we have teams to work year round, so calendar, of course, they would have those days off. They don't have the school calendar per se. That's correct. Yeah, we have office staff and principals and stuff that work year round. The calendar we are looking at in our package, is that Plan B? Is that the one that was approved?
Say that these are the calendars that the
Not
were
approved.
supported, yes, and these are both
Yeah.
Bs.
These are both, so the
Yes.
council will be voting on that we're looking at are the ones that were elected. I just want to clarify.
These are
that.
the ones that we're hoping next week you will approve.
Okay, all right, so then, a follow-up question, bless you, a follow-up question I have is this, we're voting on 23, 24, and 24, 25. I would like to know, Mr. Chair, if there's an option for us to look at next year for 24, 25, if we can vote on one calendar, being 25, 26. Every year you would vote on one calendar, but you would always be 2 years out. Otherwise, we run into the situation where we vote 2 years and we sit out a year, and we vote 2 years and we sit out a year. Now, I understand the conflict we had before with Muskogee, and I'm not sure how their scheduling works, but I would really love to see us always have 2 calendars at the time, active and approved, just my opinion.
Well,
However, with Muskogee taken into consideration, we may be faced with having to change it every time.
Which we
Well,
could.
we could just tell them ours and they can adapt.
Mhm.
we've tried that before and that didn't work.
Say,
But we could put on there spring break pending Muskogee County. Because it's either gonna be the end of March or the beginning of April, and
But that's the adjustment we run into, right? Is they don't firm up when their spring break's
Correct.
gonna be until.
they actually do the 2 years, take a year off, 2 years, take a year off. They do.
Well, maybe, that's just my opinion. You know, I think they can adapt. If they won't, we'll be glad to share their telephone number with our constituents so they can call them and say, adjust your spring break.
And I think they would remind our constituents, we're in Muskogee County and you're in Harris County.
And I'm
think
sure they
they're
will.
gonna try it. Let's
I'm just sharing my opinion. Just sharing my opinion.
We'll do it the way the board decides they want to do it. No big deal.
I'd actually prefer to do 1 year at a time. It's a little bit less.
Do y'all want to do that? Is that your general consensus? Let's go ahead and do it.
Well, I'm
Let's vote on
I'm
it.
just presenting my opinion. That's a share.
That's enough. We'll do it.
Any other discussion on the calendar?
All right, thank you. Dr. Patterson.
Good evening, Dr.
Good
Patterson.
evening. How are you tonight?
Good.
So if you'll look on over to the next page at item 2 under curriculum, I would like to share with you an update to our Georgia milestone summary results that we got in December at the high school. These are not new scores for you. You have already seen these scores. This is the December performance. However, what's new is how we compared to our RISA district and the state of Georgia. That is new, and that came in February, and it was embargoed until it came off the embargo since our last board meeting. So now I would like to share that with you. So as you can see in the first page is the American literature scores. And then the Algebra 1, the biology, and the US history. Now, I feel that that's not very user-friendly to look at, so I made a different graph for you to see that I think is more user-friendly. And that's where if you turn over another page, you can see my graphs. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, so, and what I did is I went ahead and made mine side by side to look like this, and unfortunately, you will have to flip some pages, but if you look at the first graph that I made, it's the Harris County High School time lapse from 2020, 21, and 22. And then right under it, you see the RISA time lapse. And you can see that in 2022, which is the gold bar, you can see that we outperformed in literature, history, algebra 1, and biology. We outperformed RISA in all areas. And then if you flip over to the next page, you can see that we outperformed the state as well. The only exception is the algebra 1, we were the same. So I misspoke. We were the same as algebra 1, but in the RISA. However, Harris County High School and RISA at a 54% proficiency was vastly greater than the state in algebra 1, which was only a 29% proficiency for the month of December for the first semester. Yes, yes. So Our children and our teachers and our administration at Harris County High School are doing a fantastic job. I know that there was a question that came up when we first got our scores back in December about the trend in American literature, how it seemed to be going down. But if you look at the American literature trend in our RISA district, it is also going down. Our kids may have gone down a little bit, but not so much as in the RISA district. And yet we are still maintaining over the RISA and the state. Our folks are working hard. Our team is working hard, and Ms. Snyder is always looking for ways to improve. She's strategizing, trying to place the strongest, match the strongest talents with the children that need it the most. Do you have any questions about that?
Anyone have any questions?
Mr.
Yes,
Chair, I
sir.
just want to make a comment. I appreciate the information. It's very well laid out. It is encouraging to see that, we're either maintaining or progressing.
Yes,
It's
sir.
been a bit of a challenge the last few years. So,
It has.
yeah, it has. And so that's good. You spoke to the American Lit, and I appreciate that. It is helpful to see it side by side with the RISA,
Mhm.
and the trends there. But I just want to say congratulations to Ms. Snyder and her team for the effort that's been done. We expect good things to come.
Yes, I appreciate that. And I know that Ms. Snyder does too. They're working very hard. They put a lot of thought and effort into that scheduling. And then the other thing I'd like to bring to your attention is our AP recognition that we got. Did you see the newspaper today? The Harris County Journal. We are on the front page, Harris County High School. So our school district, we have only one high school. So when we say we have once again earned some AP recognition, we have fallen on the honor list for the College Board sets the criteria to be on these honor lists for recognition, and then, or to sets the criteria for the recognition, and then Superintendent Wood designates the honor schools. There are 8 different areas. We consistently make the STEM school area and the STEM achievement school. And this is because we have kids who test in STEM areas. And then not only do we have a minimum of 5 students testing in at least 4 AP STEM courses, which is not really hard to do when you think about it, because we're just asking for only 5 kids to test in 4 STEM areas, but at least 50% of those kids must earn a score of 3 or higher. So what I wanted to do for you tonight is let you see how many kids are taking those tests in those STEM areas. And so that is in item number 3. That's a graph that shows you exactly how many kids took those exams in those STEM areas. And then on the second graph over on the next page, you can see the percentage of those kids that scored a 3 or higher. So for example, in biology, 46 students actually took the exam, but 95.7% of those kids scored a 3 or higher.
I know whenever they take the earn college credit for what percent credit they actually earn if they say they get a 3 on the file. Do they get 1 credit, 2 credits, half a credit?
It depends on the school. So, I mean, it really does depend on the school. Some schools, most of the schools, if they earn a 3, they're going to get 1 college credit. In some schools, if they earn a 5 on the exam, they might get 2 college credits, but it would be like a college credit. Yes, But it's not many schools that will give 2 college credits, but like, for example, I have known some kids who could earn a 5 on an AP language score. And they might get the college credit for a college English 1101, and then also get a credit for an elective.
Now, do you have multiple kids taking multiple AP courses?
All the time. All the time. Sometimes we have kids take 6 or 7 AP exams. Yes.
So they could leave here with 5, 6, 10 college credits.
Yes, because of AP exams and then also dual enrollment. Yes. Mhm. And then on the next page, you can see that we also earned a new recognition as an AP expansion school. And that's because last year we grew by 25% in our AP participation. Now, AP participation is defined by the College Board as either being enrolled in an AP class or taking an AP exam. Because there are some kids who may not be enrolled in an AP class at Harris County High School, but they're enrolled through GAVS, which is actually a different school, but they take the AP exam at Harris County High. So there has been there was a 25% growth at least. And actually in 2021, our AP enrollment was 248. And in 2022, our AP enrollment was 343. So we actually had a 38% enrollment, which way exceeded 25%. And that is how we managed to be on that expansion list. And really specifically that could be credited to us adding the AP biology and also a huge growth in the AP computer science principles and adding AP computer science A. We have a strong interest in those computer sciences. Yes, sir.
Why was there such a big jump in the enrollment in the statistics class? I mean, that's a huge jump from 49 kids to 94. That's a huge jump.
There's AP statistics. AP statistics is a 1 semester course. And that makes it very popular with the kids, for one thing. We have teachers who are really good at it. And as the word spreads, then the kids like taking, it's just, it depends on the kids and what they talk about. And they talk it up to each other. And so we're going to take AP statistics. We want to take it with this teacher. Last year, we had so many kids taking it that we actually had to get another teacher certified. But those 1 semester AP courses do tend to be very popular. And it's almost like a pendulum. If we didn't have that many taking it the year before, then that means more kids are eligible to take it because they're not going to take AP statistics 2 years in a row. If they didn't take it the year before, then they're more inclined to take it the next year. We don't restrict an AP class to just one grade level in those math courses. So you might, most of I'm like AP language is predominantly an 11th grade class, but those math APs, you may have 11th or 12th graders taking AP statistics. And if they did not take it in the 11th grade, then they may take it in the 12th grade. So it's more like the swing of the pendulum with those math programs. And they do like those 1 semester classes. So our AP classes, it's a great program. It serves not only the gifted kids, but it also serves the kids who are high achievers, or it's kids who are uniquely interested in that subject matter that's, that is offered by that AP class. And so that it might be a child just may not be interested in language and composition, but they love computers. And so they can find that area that appeals to them, and they will take that AP class, and it gives them that opportunity to excel in something that they like. And they do quite well. And it is a tribute to the teachers and the students. And it's not just the AP teachers, it's the teachers that came before them and worked with those kids before them. Do you have any questions? Okay.
Yep. Thank you, ma'am.
Yes, sir.
All right, so that will take us to item 2, that the Harris County Board of Education listen to a human resources update from Ms. Carlisle. Good evening.
Good evening. It's always good to share with you opportunities. This was the stats or the job postings. This is as of Monday, and we've had quite a few changes since Monday. The first position, I think we talked about it the other day, the 49% special ed teacher. That position has been sitting for, I think, over a year now. So I got a call from that director. We've taken that one down because of the point we are in the year. But of the others, if you look at the 18 positions, I put in bold next to the ones that are positions for next year. So you'll see what we're looking at as far as current openings and looking for next year. 12 of the 18 there are for next year. And I would say 4 of the 12 are already in progress. Our principals are working really hard. Their schedules are already packed pretty strong running a school, but they've been talking with applicants and having meetings. So they've been doing a lot of work on that in the last 2 weeks. And let's see, like I said, about 5 or 6 are in progress. And any questions about that part? And then just down below for updates, our focus during this month of March is first and foremost working to get our certified staff this month placed for their positions for the fall. And we'll also be working on contracts using our new software, Smart Fusion. So we are preparing to get ready for that. That'll be a first time with Smart Fusion. And then in April, the focus is going to shift to our classified staff. And we're already collaborating with transportation, trying to get us another date where we can all get together and have another evening open house like we did in the fall for employment opportunities. We call it Recruiting the County, and our focus is bus drivers and paraprofessionals. And we also like to open it up to substitutes because we're always recruiting our substitutes. We get such great substitutes, we end up hiring them. So we have to constantly replenish that group. But that's our main focus right now.
Any questions? All right, thank you, Ms. Carlisle.
Thank you.
All right, so that will take us to item 3, that the Harris County Board of Education listen to a support services department update from Ms. Baker. Good evening.
Good evening. I have 2 points of discussion with you. The first point is an update on our pre-K registration window. We are in the middle of that, and as of today, we have 181, as of Tuesday, 181 pre-K applications that have been processed and are ready to go. And that's 181 out of 286. And I listed for you the number of slots per school so that if you had a question, you would see what those were. So we are more than halfway there, and we still have 29 more days to go before this window closes. And then, of course, you see the step 2 and step 3 process after that.
Baker, is there a school that's already filled up its available spots already?
No, there's still available spots.
Some-
Yeah, nobody's filled yet. Those are 66 at 3 elementary schools and 88 at 1. So no, those are total number of spots. 181 of those are already filled. Okay. All right. If there are no other questions, my next item is related to school nutrition. You will have later on in your agenda, the National School Breakfast Week proclamation, because we're recognizing National School Breakfast Week next week. And in the middle of doing that, we are also going to bring in our school nutrition managers to recognize them for the excellent job that they do. And as of this past Tuesday, we learned that once again, all 7 of our school cafeterias have received a 100% rating from the DPH food inspection. So we're very, very proud of that.
Is that the same level of, like restaurants? Is it held to the
Yes.
same standard, or is it A little more harsh or a little more lenient or? a
It's
little-
about the same standards.
Yeah, that's really good compared to some of the eating establishments that are located in Harris County.
Yeah. Five years in a row.
I've just been in the news that I guess the COVID SNAP benefits are getting ready to end.
The PEBTs, is that what you're talking about?
So,
They are.
so how will that affect our summer feeding program?
That doesn't affect our summer feeding at all. They're not, they're not related.
Okay.
That's strictly based upon a family's income status.
Gotcha. So we'll still keep doing that to whoever needs it.
We will feed according to the guidelines that they give us. This past year, we could not go into the community as we had because we don't have summer feeding, to feed the entire community. We can only feed at our Title I locations, which is why we had Park and Harris County Crawford Middle School, because they're in proximity of each other.
And so any student who is registered at those schools can eat or?
Any student who is 18 years and under
Younger.
can go to those schools.
Even if they're not attending those schools, they just have to go and pick it
Yeah,
up.
because school is not in session.
Yeah.
It's summer feeding.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
Any other questions?
Okay.
Thank you, Ms.
Thank
Baker.
you.
So that will take us to item E4, that the Harris County Board of Education listened to a Facilities and Technology Department update from Dr. Finney. Good evening, sir.
Good evening. I'll be yielding most of my time to Tom Owens, a man who needs no introduction, I think, before this board. We're thankful that he's here to help us as we move into the future, and he's going to present some options to you with regard to eSplost and those types of things. As we've just finished up our 5-year facilities plan and you guys did the resolution to approve that. That plan kind of guides where we're going in the future. We talked about this stuff at the retreat, and Tom's going to bring you some information about that. So any questions for me?
How are we progressing, before we get to that, how are we progressing on the indoor practice building?
Well, we are progressing, but we're not progressing as fast as we want to with all of this bad weather that we have. It's a little difficult to get that roof on with the high winds and the rain. So we're a little behind in that respect, but they've got a plan to, as they put the roof on each bay, to go ahead and put the side on as well. So they're working as hard as they can against those forces of nature.
Thank you.
I have a question on that too.
Yes.
Since you brought it up, that's all right. Not nearly as important as getting a roof and siding on, all right? But just curious, the slope between the facility, the slope between the facility and the middle school, at one time, there was talk of doing some steps or some type of access from that parking lot up. Is that still in the plan?
I'll have to go back and check that to make sure.
That's fine.
Yeah.
It'd be very helpful and useful for middle school, right? I was just curious. I just was wondering if that was still in the plan.
Dr. Finney, I mean, I don't want to, this is not to put you on the spot and give a date, but how far, I know we had a target date on a completion date on when we was going to do that.
Mhm.
Do you know what kind of timeline we've been pushed back on that?
I don't. It's still, we had this discussion at the construction meeting on Monday, and we're going to be discussing it again. If it's even pushed back, but I just wanted to let you know that there is a possibility that it could be pushed back a little bit from that June 1 date.
Yeah, like I said, I mean, I knew we originally had a target date of first part of summer, right after kids got out of school.
It was originally June 1, and we will have the field house portion of it with the locker rooms and those kind of things completed. It's just getting that roof on.
Well, that's a pretty big span too, so.
Yeah, and when you get up there and you're trying to put that insulation in there with that fabric and the wind's blowing 30 miles an hour, it's not just the rain, it's also the winds. So,
Well, I think on the side of this mountain, it blows all the time, if I'm not mistaken.
mhm.
Thank you.
Okay, Tom, it's all yours.
Okay. Well, good evening. It's good to see all of you again. I have given you a paper version, because it is yet to fail me, but we're going to try it on the big screen as well tonight. I'm going to do some of the the same stuff we go through every time. Where's our sales tax? I know y'all have a good feel for that, but it's just kind of base knowledge for what we're going to talk about here. One thing really quickly, and I'm going to reference back to this throughout the presentation, is when we talk education splost, and this is board knowledge and also public knowledge, there are only really three things that you can do with sales tax for education. That's we can spend it directly on capital projects. We can pay, we can pay what's called previously incurred general obligation bonds, so bonds that are already outstanding, and we can pay bonds that are voted concurrently with that splosh. So at the same time, we authorized the sales tax and bonds. We could use the sales tax to pay for that. So those are the three things: projects directly, debt that was issued at the same or approved at the same time as the splosh, and bonds that were already outstanding. And I'm going to come back to that as we go throughout this presentation. Let's see here. Turning over to slide 4, you've had tremendous growth in the sales tax. We are currently just into splosh 6. And you can see the growth there has been tremendous. And at the last 12 months, so this is a period ending February of 2023, you've collected $4,244,000. And so we just use that figure, most recent 12 months is what we always use to project going forward. And you can see growth rates here down at the bottom of this slide. So we're right in the middle. There's an annual growth rate. And really just wants to look at how things have progressed since we voted for, since we put this on the ballot last time. You've had a year in 2021 of 21% growth and a year of 11% growth, which is just tremendous. A lot of people are having really big growth, and there's a number of reasons. But it's one thing that it is causing is for some of the sales tax to reach their cap prior to when we thought they might. And so this next page, and I can give you more detail, but this is just a picture. Your cap was $18 million. Back when this was voted, we were getting about $3 million a year. So 3 million times 5 would have been 15. It seemed an additional 3 million on top of that seemed kind of like a reasonable assumption. We're obviously going to get there early. Right now, I would predict, just based on your current pace, that we're going to get there 2 to 3 quarters early. So sales tax is levied in full 3-month, quarter increments. And so the quarter in which you hit the cap, we go to the end of that quarter, and then the current sales tax stops. So right now, I think it is most likely that happens at March 2026 or June 2026. On the next page, I've made projections for your, this is old. This has this is correct. I've got a bad heading on that one there. I've made predictions starting as if the new sales tax begins its levy in April of 2026. I may be a quarter off there, but we're not going to be far. Yes, sir.
Interrupt you for a second.
Certainly.
So some people understand that, we set a cap on the amount of the money that we want. Let's
Yes,
say
sir.
at that time it was 18 million.
That's right.
Based upon previous tax collections, and it's kind of a, just a hit and miss type situation.
Correct.
But I think what a lot of the people need to understand that since we set it actually too low based on the time frame projections, that, and I don't know how many months, I haven't looked at it, but we'll actually kind of lose that money for that time frame, correct?
Well, if we don't renew the sales tax, that is
Right.
correct. We can always renew the sales tax, and it will start when the prior, we'll put language in the renewal that says it will begin when the prior sales tax, the quarter after the prior sales tax hits its cap. So in that case, we'll have a seamless sales tax.
Right. And then,
So long as it's authorized before this one hits its
right.
cap.
And then our next process, and maybe jumping ahead, is to then look at what our projected needs are and try to figure out an amount with a time frame where we don't cut ourselves short.
Well, yes, sir, that's correct. And I wouldn't get too hung up on the cutting ourselves short thought. I mean, you're correct that we would prefer it levy the full 5 years. In a growing system like yours, it's not tragic that we have to revote with a new set of priorities put out and get to name, well, what are the things that we intend to do at this point? I mean, we'd obviously rather it go the full 5 years, and that'll be our goal in the renewal. You know, I'm not terribly upset that we vote maybe a little earlier than we intended to either. I mean, it's within a year, and you know, the
Tom, I'd
vote
like to
dates are
add
only so
that,
often,
and I
so.
know this is kind of what you and
Yes, sir.
Mr. Goodnow were talking about. The money's available because the county's growing
Correct.
and more sales tax is being collected because there's more money being spent because there's more people. And as a school system, we have greater needs. And that's what we're trying to do.
That's exactly right.
Is to collect the money for the needs that we have for our
That-
students.
That's right. The revenue has a habit of showing up with students, you know, and vice versa. I
Right.
mean, that's good and bad, but as far as facilities planning, but you're
Well,
exactly right about that. I mean,
it's a more equitable type of tax because it's fair to everyone, not just property owners. And that's been beneficial too, because in the last couple of years, we've been able to actually lower the property taxes for the M&O in the system, which helps people tremendously. You know, unfortunately, though, the tax base has been increasing a lot too.
yes, sir. I've got a couple slides that I'm going to try to point out just how good a job this board has done of managing projects here in the county, that I don't know that you'll otherwise ever get the appreciation you necessarily deserve for that. And actually, page 8 isn't a bad place to start. Along with the last sales tax, you had the wisdom to authorize in total, we had to we authorized $26 million worth of bonds. Because interest rates were so low, the prices we got for the 2020 bonds were actually a little better than we had anticipated. And you didn't need to issue all of those bonds in 2020 to build the middle school. And so that allowed some capacity remaining under that 26 million that allows us to come back in 2022 and fund the athletic improvements that are going now. And we did all of that at payments in total that are lower than what we thought they would be at the time we did the planning. And I'm going to come back to that in just a moment. But if you'll look, what I really want us to focus on is the current sales tax that we're in and what we intended to do with that money as far as your bonds are concerned. And as far as the bonds are concerned, those first 5 years are what we thought would line up with this current sales tax. And your ballot, your referendum resolution was written that way to say that we would collect the tax up to 20 quarters or until it collects 18 million. And you did something else at the same time, and you had a bond millage previously, but we also let everyone know we intend to levy 1 mil of bond tax to support our capital program. Now that bond mill is performing better than we thought it would, or maybe better than it was at the time. I'm not going to make any predictions about what we thought it was going to do. But the way we wrote that resolution was to say, we will spend not more than $8,750,000 of the sales tax towards bond payments. And that was meant to be capped, not we will spend $8,750,000. It was just so that everyone would understand the notion that there was going to be a second source of payment, which is the bond millage, and that we would supplement that with sales tax each year. And so when we look at those numbers, this is just those first 5 years of payments. That totals a little over 11.4 million. On average, about $2.3 million is what it takes to make that payment. The bond mill is now producing about 1.7. I've got more specific numbers here on the page, but we're talking about roughly $600,000 worth of sales tax is what it takes each year to service your bonds. So in total, that's a little less than $3 million out of the 18 is what we currently kind of have slated to go towards those payments, which is well less than the $8,750,000 that's authorized for that purpose. Now, this is a chart, and I actually used this chart maybe a week and a half ago with a school superintendent's training session, facilities training session, about the right way to do facilities planning. Your CTAE director was there. I told him, I said, don't go tell him, Mr. Couch, I'm spreading your business around. But I want you to look at this chart for a second, because it does everything we talked about doing at the time, which was instead of trying to cram our debt down and pay it off as quickly as possible, what the market was giving us were pretty low interest rates. for a pretty long period of time. And we talked about kind of getting over the notion that we're going to be out of debt, right? What I don't want you doing is paying off debt, reissuing that, paying off that debt, reissuing that. Once we understand we're going to have debt as a growing school system, we try to get good debt. And you've got a bunch of good debt outstanding at this point. These bonds are outstanding. The cost of these bonds to you, I think, is 1.6 and 1.23% is what we call the bond yield on those two issues. But what this program allows, because we have such a low bond payment, that purple line is the property tax, just at the 1.7, and that green line is property tax plus sales tax. And so the difference between the top of these bars and that green line, in round figures, $3 million a year, is what you have available for other purposes beyond paying bonds right now. As opposed to cramming all this debt down into the very front end and using all that money to pay bonds with nothing left over, right? You got very, very attractive, a very, very attractive cost of capital. Now, what I told you a moment ago, though, is about to come into play as we look forward to the next sales tax and your next building program, which I believe will be an elementary school, potentially. I don't know what y'all have decided on that front, but I think that's really the next kind of maybe the focus of the next major thing in your capital outlay project. So your capital outlay plan. So as we think about that, what we want to think about is, well, when we go forward and we renew the sales tax and potentially a bond issue to go with that fund construction, remember the things I told you you could do with sales tax. All right, that is, we can pay projects directly. The sales tax is going to start in 2026, most likely. We can pay previously incurred bonds, and we can pay bonds that were issued concurrently. The trouble will be if we start that you say we run out in November, which is what I'm going to suggest, and you put a sales tax and bonds on the ballot, and those bonds get authorized, we have to have a way to pay those bonds between now and 2026 when they get started, when the sales tax starts. All right. Now, the good news for you is because you have that bond millage in place, and this one's blue up here, I changed it to green in the one you've got in front of you. We can actually shift that bond millage to pick up payments on this new series, potential new series of bonds, and cover those payments between now and through 2026 when the new sales tax actually starts. And the reason is your current sales tax, sales plus 5, is not what we can't do as an eligible use is pay bonds that were voted after the fact. Does that make sense? Because it's not one of those three things. They weren't concurrent and they weren't previously incurred. So we can't just take sales tax and pay those bonds. Because you have that bond millage, we have a mechanism that we can pay interest on those bonds until the new sales tax starts. So the normal alternative for most school districts who are not levying a bond millage is, if we wanted to start your next project, we'd need to take that money, borrow it, put it in an account and use it for nothing but paying bond interest. So we would, in the absence of that bond millage, we would end up borrowing what I think your elementary may cost and what your local need may be. We would probably borrow $4 to $5 million for no purpose other than paying interest on bonds. The flip side is you've got a way to do it because we have capacity under that $8,750,000 that we are authorized to spend on the current bonds if necessary. And we can go forward with the new issue and get a new school under construction much sooner than we otherwise could. And I don't know exactly when y'all are going to go forward with that. That's maybe a different discussion as far as when that project starts. But y'all are going to be in the position to have completed a middle school athletics and an elementary school in a span of about 5 years, which is borderline unheard of for folks to be able to put that kind of facilities up in that point in time. That's a good place for questions, and I want to continue on in just a moment, but does that raise any questions that and we can come back as well, but do y'all understand that general concept that because that bond millage is there, you got a way to do things without terribly, without in a much cheaper way than a much less expensive way than you otherwise would have to. Well, if you look at page 13.
Well, Tom, I'll just tell you, like I
Yes.
said earlier, and I don't want to interrupt you, but
No.
Mr. Couch and this team has been, very aggressive, but we've also had a very wise financial advisor. We appreciate you,
Well,
sir.
Well, I appreciate that very much. And as I told you, I got a bunch of customers that don't listen to me. So that's I appreciate it very much. But I think what we've done is we've just looked and thought, well, what logically is going to happen next with interest rates and other things? And y'all have been receptive to those ideas. And I can't tell you how refreshing that is to me. Like I told you about these bonds a moment ago, I was slightly wrong on the interest rates. The 2020s cost us 1.61%, and the other ones cost us 1.25%. One of the things we talked about when we issued these bonds was if we've ever got so much money floating around that we think we just need to get rid of it, we can pay down this debt. Now it starts at the 10-year mark. Today, we wouldn't dream of doing that because we can take your money and send it to the state government investment pool, and they paid 4.2% in January. So even if we had the money, I don't think we would be running to pay off this debt that's extremely low cost. You're in a great position, and that's going to give you flexibility as we go forward. The second thing I want to point out, and this is the thing that nobody is ever going to see or probably ever give anyone credit for, but this is year over year inflation as of January. This is a index put out by the Bureau of Labor Statistics, the same people who do CPI. It's an index specific to new school building construction.
Yeah.
And you know this.
Oh, yeah.
But what I want, Dr. Finney, what did the middle school cost in total? About 27 million. So, 12 and 15, just round that down to 25%. That'd be about a $35 million school today. If you're not authorized bonds, drawing down your state capital outlay, let contracts in 2020. Just based on this index, if we had run that out, you'd be trying to spend close to $35 million on a school that you spent 27 for. Now, we're not so lucky in this next project. However, I fight this battle all the time with people who just don't want to pay interest expense. And it's because it's a number that I present you that you can see and say, well, look how much that interest is costing us. We have a hard time conceptualizing how much more will our buildings be if we don't get them started and in process. Yeah. And this is just sort of a looking back demonstration of that. Y'all made great decisions in terms of getting your last project moving and borrowing when you did, and the structure of your debt. So,
Well, when you figure just kind of mulling about it for an additional year that may
Right.
cost you $5 or $6 million, that's too much.
but, well, that's right. And now that kind of speaks to the next point, and I'm not involved in your decisions and when you make your applications for capital outlay and all that. That's different. But I do want to talk about referendum timing just a little bit. This year, there's a November 2023 election, and then we will get into 2024. And 2024, you can see, is the presidential preference primary, the general primary, and then the presidential election. And we, of course, are not advising you one date versus the other, but there will be a lot of folks there to vote for a lot of different things for a lot of different reasons during 2024. And not that you can't, and I'm sure you would be successful if you put it on that ballot. But November 2023 may be a very good time as well for you to think about putting some on the ballot, just to, we want an informed electorate voting on your issue. So I'll just leave it at that. There will be there'll be 2 dates in 2025 beyond this as well that are available. The trick there will be if this sales tax keeps growing for some reason, and that jumps another quarter to December, we're March 2026 potentially. If that becomes December 25, December 25 is your last quarter, a November 25 election will be too late. So then it really is spring 2025 would be your only other non-2024 alternative.
Well, this goes back to the fact too, like we just stated earlier, if we can do it in 2023, would be a lot less expensive to go ahead and get that referendum done and approved in the SPOS and get started than waiting another year down the road with a 25% increase in cost.
It will at least give you the option if you choose to go forward. That's right. You will have your ducks in a row and your authorizations out of the way to get access to what you need locally to go forward with the project. You can always, it's sort of like we can always pay off bonds. We can always delay the start of a school building. What we can't do is hurry up and vote and get it, when we didn't have it on the ballot. So
22 to 23, 12.25 say that it's gonna go from 24 to 18 and then 25 up to 20.
That's right. And I don't want to inflame, anything on the inflation side and try to make you fearful of what's going. I think inflation is coming down, but it's just one of those things that's out of our control on the other hand. And then I like to control what we can control. So, and while we can really control is timing. So,
Well, and I'll support what Steve's saying, regardless if the inflation continues to increase or if it does reduce, whether it's November or the next one, in my opinion, I would just encourage us to move forward and put it on the November ballot in 23. I think we talked about that a little bit. And I would agree with Steve. Let's we know we're going to hit our cap early, at whatever early is.
right.
And so there's no need to wait, in my opinion.
Right. I mean, I'm pretty confident you're going to hit the cap earlier, and I totally agree with that. And I don't think I need to hit this anymore, but we've talked, the other part of this is when you get a child into a building a year earlier. And that's one of those intangible things that we just don't, we don't have a way of quantifying that, but, we have the facility and we have students in new facilities earlier, and that's got some value as well. The last thing we have is the November calendar. If that is the conclusion that you guys reach, what we're really targeting is probably late summer in terms of you adopting a referendum resolution that would call not only for renewal of the sales tax, but also call for a bond question. And, I think we've got some ideas I've estimated in that chart, and I think, there's finalizing what we believe you conservatively believe your local share of that school will be. And we'll put a finer point on that, obviously, before you take action on it. But we're really kind of here to present the concept tonight.
Well, can I ask one more question?
Yes, sir, please.
Based upon the time frame and where we may be at, I mean, undoubtedly for that cost, whatever project we have, we'll have to issue additional bonds.
Yes, sir.
At that time. And I know you don't have a crystal ball or anything, and we got such a great rate before. What is the current rate of bonds right now?
So I estimated, based on the numbers in this chart, I used a rate of 4.82%, which has 1% added to current rate. So I would estimate 382 if we were doing it today, which historically we wouldn't have all been upset about 382. And I've estimated 482 at this juncture. Just, rates are going that direction, unfortunately. So I'm trying to add some cushion, but that 5% is not out of the question this time.
Inflation, construction costs, bond rates.
Right.
Yeah, just time.
I think that, the treasury yield curve, that's where the federal government borrows. I believe I saw in that article, every maturity, 1 to 30 years is now over 4%. So,
I remember when that was a deal.
yes, sir. Exactly right. I mean, we used to do 5-year SPOS bonds that were at about 5%. So that's, we're kind of tainted by where we've been the last few years, but that's still not a historically bad cost of capital.
Well, I still feel that, we're spending money, but to be fiscally responsible to taxpayers of Harris County, that I think it behooves us to look at what we're doing. And if we can save $7, $8, $9 million and we have the funds and go ahead and do it, and that's on our 5-year improvement plan, then we need to look very strong at doing that and try to capitalize on that in that time frame.
Okay. Well, like always, we will, we'll get with your staff and we'll start figuring out exactly what this needs to look like, and it will probably be, we'll figure out which meeting we need to come back to, but it'll be this summer and we'll come back with
Sounds good.
the plan with the details figured out, but we're not far off at this point.
Look, I would like to take a second, and I know the board feels this way, and I know Dr. Finney does, but Tom, we really appreciate the work that you put in to help out this school system. I know you helped a lot of them, but boy, you've really been good for us.
Well, I appreciate it. And I always enjoy coming out here. Y'all, some of my favorite folks to visit with. I really do mean that. Y'all been great to me. So thank you.
Thank you, sir. All right, so that will take us to item F, that the Harris County Board of Education, in recognition of the importance of fine arts in our schools, declares the month of March 2023 as Harris County Fine Arts Month, and shall, through separate proclamation, recognize art, music, and theater in our schools at the March 9th, 2023 regular monthly board meeting. So we will be doing that next week, all those proclamations in recognition. Mr. Couch, I assume we will have students and staff present to receive those.
Absolutely. I've spoken with several, and I think they're working on a tremendous rendition of something.
Very good. All right, and that will take us to item F2, that the Harris County Board of Education, in recognition of the importance of breakfast in our schools, declare the week of March 6th through 10th, 2023 as National School Breakfast Week, with the attached proclamation being presented at the March 9th, 2023 regular monthly board meeting. So that we will recognize that as well. Any discussion on either of those two items? All right, so that will take us to our consent agenda and item G1, that the Harris County Board of Education review the attached enrollment report for February 2023. Any questions or discussion?
Want to call out one page on the EOC, their increase looks like a jet plane, unfortunately. But Ms. Decker, her team are doing a great job absorbing, but it's kind of interesting.
Any other discussion? All right, so that will take us to item G1, that the Harris County Board of Education review the attached local school council meeting minutes. All right, so as you notice in your packets tonight, we do not have any of the financial reports, with end of month being just a day ago. So I haven't had time to process all of that, but we will have those reports available at our next meeting. So we will look forward to reviewing those. Does anybody have any questions about the consent agenda items? All right, so that will take us to item H, that the Harris County Board of Education share comments, news, and information they might have with the public and other members of the board. This evening, I will start with Mr. Proctor. Mr. Green.
I would just like to congratulate all those wrestlers that qualified for state and participating in the state tournament. And I tell you, you represented Harris County well, and I know we didn't have the outcome that we wanted, but I know we fought hard and those kids put everything on the line. So I just want to say congratulations to all those gentlemen and ladies that actually were qualified in the state tournament. That's it.
Very good. Slip.
Yes, thank you. A couple of things. One, I had the pleasure of reading to Ms. Moy and Ms. Westad's class on Monday for Read Across America, Dr. Stoops. We had a good time. I hope the kids enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. I had a good time. And so I appreciate all of the elementary schools in Creekside inviting the community to come and participate in that, and I had a good time. Ms. Crooks, we enjoyed our visit to Pine Ridge. My wife is still nursing our plant real well. Yes, and it's not dying yet. One of the things that I walked away from that day, it was a writing on the wall. And I want to say Dr. Sparks or Miss Harville one pointed it out to me, but one of the classes, I want to say it was Miss Coon, I'm not sure, but one of the questions was posted to the children for February as to why do couples hold hands? Or is that what it was? It you, Dr. Sparks? Why do couples hold hands? The answer from the student was so that they don't lose each other. Or why do families hold hands? Why do families hold hands so they don't lose each other? I thought the wisdom of a child, right? Because if we stick together as a family and we hold hands and hold hearts, maybe we won't lose one another. I just thought that was quite, I appreciated that. Had a visit. Was able to stop by the Hope Center to celebrate their 4-year-old birthday. Boy, they look a lot older than 4 years old, but they had a good little crowd there and doing amazing work out of the Hope Center. So happy belated birthday to them. And then thanks to everyone who put together our biannual planning session. It was very, very good. It was a lot of work done there. The food was great. And I know that takes extra effort. So I appreciate everyone who did that, and to Mr. Couchin and Ashley and those of you that are preparing the agenda. I noticed that for the public's benefit, I noticed that the agenda is now tied directly to our strategic plan. You can look at the strategic plan and you can find the categories, and you can understand that everything on our agenda is tied to that strategic plan so that we support the strategic plan. And I wanted to say that I noticed that, and I'm grateful, and hopefully that will help our constituents be able to see the work that we're doing and how that ties to the work that they did last summer in developing that. So thank you.
Mr. Goodnow.
Yes, I enjoyed my short visit to the Pine Ridge the other day. I'm sorry I had to leave early in regards to that, but Mr. Ray and myself had the pleasure with Read Across America to read this on Monday. And we had read at Park, and I think that it went pretty well based upon the way things were read and done. But I think the kids enjoyed it, and it's the first time I've read in several years. I haven't been able to participate in that, but I enjoyed it thoroughly with that. And there again, this time of year when we have music, art, and theater, this has always been a special time for me, just because of the history that goes back with these programs. And I'm always glad to see the recognition and the skills and abilities that these kids have and exhibit. It just always astonishes me with the talents that they have. So, and I thank the staff for everything you guys do all the time. Thank you.
Ms. Oliver.
I just wanted to say thank you to Dr. Denny. Did you do this? Thank you so much. I don't have it memorized as well as I probably should, so I appreciate the cheat sheet. And I hope that Ashley will keep this in our folder every week. I love that the agenda coincides with it to help keep us on track and to keep it in the forefront of all of the hard work that you all did last summer. So thank you so much for that. And Pine Ridge, it was so much fun. Altruismo, yeah, I should have worn my shirt. Oh, but I need to report on my plant. I'm kidding. It's growing in spite of me. And so it's doing great. What do I have again? What is it? What am I growing? It's green. They're green.
In there.
Yeah. They're green and I do have eggshells. I don't know who I report to. Somebody said, report back to us. I'm like, I don't know who to report to, but I have growth and I have eggshells. Okay. So that's good. And I just wanted to say that on Monday night, I was privileged enough to attend the first annual Black History Month event at the high school. And I knew that Dex Williams, who's class act all the way, I knew the event would be awesome. I had no idea. It was such a blessing to go. And you know what's awesome? He had organized vendors in the commons area. And it was so good to see Jamira Hayes, and she brought, she had baked goods, and the people that were in there were so sweet. And the little vendor that was doing the confetti, you know, sharing the sprinkles movement, and just, it was so awesome. And the end of that show, I had no idea the talent that was going to be there that night. It was amazing. It was so beautiful. And throughout the whole night, I was learning and learning and listening. And I loved the very end when they said, regardless, if you're breathing, you have value. If you wake up in the morning and your feet hit the floor, you have value. And I just thought, man, and there were how many people there that night? Like 500. Wouldn't you say 500 people? That was a lot. It was so awesome. Thank you for allowing and encouraging him, Miss Longshore Sergeant. Thank you for that. Thank you for encouraging him. And I hope it's someone else's Page One project next year. It becomes an annual event. I will definitely be there. It was awesome. Thank you for that. And it was fun today reading at Park Elementary. I got to go to Miss Wood's class, 3rd grade, and read about the imagination. And then I got to go to Miss Landro's class and read about kindness and how Park is promoting kindness this week. And the kids shared with me about what they're learning about the ripple effects of kindness and how one act can reach hundreds in no time. And so thank you for blessing me with that. I went there too, thinking that I was going to, you know, really impart some beautiful wisdom. And I just left there just full of joy and being reminded of why we do what we do every day. It was really a blessing to me. So thank you. And one last thing. I got a phone call from Gwen today, and she had met with her advisor at West Georgia. And her advisor pulled her off to the side after their meeting was over. They were walking out to the parking lot together, and she said, "Where'd you go to high school?" And she said, "Harris County High School, you know, it's a little town." She goes, "Call your counselors tonight and tell them great job, because they set you up perfectly for taking almost a year off of your college. You'll be able to leave for PA school almost a year ahead of people." And she goes, "That's considerable savings for your family." She said, "Call them and tell them thank you." And I said, "I'll tell them." So great job, everybody. Great job.
Dr. Sparks.
Thank you. First, I want to start with my apologies for not being able to participate in Read Across America. I've gotten the invitations, and some I've responded to, but I got a new job and they just don't seem to think I can be missed. And so I do have a video out there, I think, during COVID. If you want to show that video again, please do so. I'll try to send another one. And then just to show off, Amistad, I am in your group. I understand that there was a technical glitch. And so 2 years ago, a board member, and I wasn't there, should have been in Amistad. That is me. I'm going to get a shirt. And the next time I come, I will wear the shirt. But how can you look at my picture? My plant is doing extremely well. It has eggshells and it's growing. I'll send it to, I think it's been forwarded to Ms. Brooksy. Please share. Thank you. I'll keep up the pictures. I'll send the pictures.
Yours looks fantastic.
Thank you so much. Good time. And the track meet, we had a track meet Saturday at Brookstone and another one Tuesday. They're doing good. I think we won both of them. I think we won the one Saturday, the one Tuesday, you know, we were just practicing because we have another one Saturday, so we didn't want to tire ourselves out. But I would also like to ditto Ms. Oliver's comments about the Black History Program. We made history. We attended Harris County's first ever Black History Program, and it was phenomenal. They have a hard act to follow, but I'm sure they will do it because the talent is just tremendous. The students who participated, Mr. Williams, who put the program together, the vendors, everything was absolutely remarkable. And I've heard nothing but good feedback from everyone in the community who attended. Thank you so much for doing this. I enjoyed it. Can't wait for next year. Thank you.
Mr. Couch.
Ashley reminded me to give y'all a heads up that the Val, Sal, and the Star students will also be here this coming next board meeting. A couple of other things went on this week, besides Read Across America. However, if you hadn't had an opportunity to participate in that, you can always go next week. It's outside the time frame, but you can go anytime you want to. They love the kids. The kids really enjoy it. I try to stick with a book that I know and they know, where I don't have to read the whole thing. You know, I do half and they do the rest of it, like One Fish. Yeah, exactly. That's my favorite book, as a matter of fact. Coach Westmoreland, Steve Westmoreland, won his 300th game earlier this week. That's a pretty big deal. So he's been a head coach for 15 years, so he's knocked out a lot of good years. And we were really proud to see it. It was really interesting. So the Sykes boy that graduated from here, Tony Dimitri, who used to coach here, and then Payne Costabucky were all coaching from Russell County. So it was kind of a reunion for them, but we beat them anyway, which we always like to do. One other thing I want you to remember, and I'll be giving you more information about this, but on May 25th at 2:00, which is the last day of school, we're going to unveil the Carver Memorial Historical Marker over at the Carver Center. You know, that alumni group's really been active, and they contacted me this week. They want to be sure that y'all know about it, and everybody in the community, and anybody that you'd like to see get invited, let me know, and we'll be sure to do it. Because we're developing a really huge list of people we'd like to see come. That's the last planning day. So we'll work with the principals to make sure they give their faculty an opportunity to come see it. There's a lot of leaders that grew out of that
Yes.
school, and you know many of them.
Yes.
You just may not know you know them, but they are really special when they're all together. It's a real honor to work with them. That's it for me.
All right, so I too want to thank Ms. Crooks and her staff for a great visit. My plant is alive and well. It does not have eggshells in it, but it is thriving on the deck. So kudos to whoever put the seeds in mine and the fertilizer, because they did a good job. I also wanted to thank everyone that had anything to do with the board retreat, setting it up, and a special thank you to Miss Bethany Lucas, who sets up our dinners when we have those. She leaves her job at the high school and goes over there and sets up these great place settings and everything at the tables, and just makes it so inviting, and always has someone different there for us to enjoy a meal from. And so I just wanted to say thank you to Miss Lucas for that. Mr. Goodnow did allude that we did read at Park. He did not share that he is thing 2 and I am thing 1, and we read together The Cat in the Hat to our daughters' combined classrooms, and then I came back on Tuesday and read The Cat in the Hat Comes Back. So it was a very, very neat week over there, and it was great to be able to see those kids and interact with them, and it's always great to be able to be in the schools and do that. I apologize that we can't be at all the schools, but thank you to everyone that sent us an invitation. All of the elementary schools sent us one, and our apologies that we couldn't get to everybody. We will be there next year. I can't promise you'll get thing 1 and thing 2, but we may make a reappearance. But there's a video out there somewhere, I've been told. I would also like to echo what Mr. Green said about the wrestlers. We sent 7 young men and 2 young ladies to the state championships in Macon, and we walked away with some hardware when we left. It was great. Nick Wynn Davis Culpepper, Davin Lundquist, and Brock Johnson. They placed second, excuse me, Nick Davis and Davin placed second in the state in their individuals, and Brock placed third, and then Miss Addison Lowell placed third in hers. So it was a great weekend over there. We were well represented. The coaches were very happy, and thank you to all of the, as a parent of one of them, thank you to all the community that came out and supported them during the season. This is my first experience with wrestling. We've been doing it 2 years, but I don't know where I've been missing that. So that's wrestling's got it going on. So great job with all the coaches that are involved. And then also young Wesley Sappington competed this weekend in freshman state. The coaches can't be there with them, but one of the student athletes went over and helped coach him, and he placed third at freshman state. So that was awesome as well. So congratulations to all of them. So at this time, I will entertain a motion that we move to executive session to discuss or deliberate upon the appointment, employment, compensation, hiring, disciplinary action or dismissal, or periodic evaluation or rating of a public officer or employee, or to interview applicants for the position of superintendent, to discuss, vote to authorize negotiations to purchase, dispose of, or lease property, authorize ordering and appraisal related to the acquisition or disposal of real estate, enter into contract to purchase, dispose of, or lease property subject to approval in a subsequent public vote. Do I have a motion? Mr. Green, second. Ms. Oliver, all in favor? We will be excused to executive session.
Thank you, principals, school personnel.
All right, at this time, I will entertain a motion that we exit executive session. Dr. Sparks, seconded by Mr. Goodnow, all in favor? All right. And at this time, I will entertain a motion that we adjourn the regular called meeting for the evening. Mr. Lip, seconded by Mr. Green, all in favor? So moved. At this time, I would like to call to order the special called meeting of the Harris County Board of Education. At this time, I'll entertain a motion that we approve our agenda. Yes, there is an agenda. I have it. Mr. Lip, second, and Mr. Proctor, all in favor? All right, and that will take us to item C, personnel recommendations made by the superintendent. So at this time, I will entertain a motion that we accept the recommendations made by the superintendent on personnel. Mr. Goodnow, second. Mr. Proctor, all in favor? So moved. And at this time, I will entertain a motion that we adjourn our special session. Mr. Lip, seconded by Mr. Proctor, all in favor? We stand adjourned. Thank you.